Hello YouTubers, this is Fernando for the all-new special edition video here. I wanted to make a special edition video dedicated to the anniversary of the September 11th attack that happened, of course, 18 years ago. Very tragic, very unfortunate circumstance that to this day is still honorably remembered. And I was debating about whether doing this video and posting it here only because of the lively topics that people still talk about to this day involving that fateful morning. But ultimately, when I was reading a bunch of articles today, I was seeing a lot of comments that people were posting in those articles, and inevitably they would talk about their own experience during that day. They would state where they were, what was happening during that time. They would also state what they were feeling. It's one of those events where you will never forget where exactly you were during that very specific moment. And so it inspired me to be able to showcase here what my own experience was. And that's the whole point of this video. I would like to hear what was happening during that time. If you were alive during that time period, what was happening when that fateful morning occurred? Like, where were you? What was occurring surrounding you? Were you at a job? Were you at school? How did you hear about this news? That kind of stuff, because everyone will have their own special, unique experience. And so maybe this video, it'll give an opportunity for everyone to share that. And then that way you'll be able to see and hear other people's vantage points during that morning. The only thing I ask again is to please be respectful of everyone's opinions. Nothing here will be for anything involving, let's say, people's thoughts on the conspiracies or that kind of stuff that people are still very, very adamant about certain opinions on. No, this is all just 100%. What were you doing during that morning? What were your thoughts? What was happening? And see if you can share with everyone out there. But let's go ahead and let's start, and I'll share at least my own experience during 2001, September 11th. So on that fateful and very tragic morning, I was working at the time at a location that had, for lack of a better term, it was manufacturing computer chips. These were those tiny little chips that actually at the time were going into some of the Sony 2 PlayStation. So any of you people out there that have a Sony 2 PlayStation or even have one to this day, who knows, maybe some of those chips actually came from the location that I was working at. And it was one of those things where I was working and going to college at the very same time. This was my very early college days. This was a time where my very first degree, very beginning, I had it as computer science. It was a deal where I didn't really know exactly what I was going to do still, so I just picked computer science to at least fill something, and the place I was working at matched that particular degree to a very, very nice, comfortable area. So the notion was I would be working at a place that also conveniently matched everything I was going to school for, and then each one would complement each other. The crazy thing though was I was going to school almost full time and I was working almost full time as well. But there at the place I was working at making these chips, it was something where it was a night shift. It was from 7 or somewhere around there. I'm trying to remember. No, my apologies. It was 9 p.m. up until 9 a.m. and this was Central Time here in Texas, and it was a compressed schedule. If you haven't heard of a compressed schedule, it's where you tend to work 12 hours each day, and you work 3 days one week, 4 days the other week, and then in between you have off. So if you're working 3 days that one week, it's 12 hours each day, then you get 4 days off, and then the next week it's 4 days for 12 hours each, and then you get 3 days off. And they actually complement each other when it comes to matching the 80-hour work week. But my schedule was again 9 p.m. to 9 a.m., which I loved. I actually did like having a nighttime schedule. It was something where I could go in. There was very little traffic, obviously, at night, and then leaving in the early morning like that. And then also, it was just a quieter, peaceful time. You'd be surprised how much the world changes when you're working a night shift. If there was something like that with my current career, I think I would gladly take it again, involving taking something like a night shift there, so that way I could enjoy the peace and the calm that's associated with that shift. But yes, at least on September 10th, I went in and I was able to go in the area that I worked at when I was dealing again with those chips. It was a pretty secure area, meaning you couldn't bring in any electronics. Only a few electronics, in fact, could be running throughout that place because we didn't want to have anything interfering with the equipment we were dealing with, the sensitive equipment. So no radios, nothing like that, no internet, nothing. Like you couldn't have anything within those rooms. And so, for lack of a better term, we were locked out from anything happening in the outside world during that night shift. This played an important part because in a few short hours after I was able to get off work, that's when I became aware of everything that happened. So September 10th turned into September 11th when it came to the morning shift. And again, us being in that closed environment, we had no idea what was going on throughout the entire world during that morning. And then as I was getting out and then getting to my car and then driving away from work, the very first notion that I heard that something had occurred was at a stop sign. It was at a stop sign where I saw a lot of people that were there. They were getting newspapers from somebody that was selling something there on the side of the road. I was wondering, what was this? Like, what was going on? Because it's rare. I hardly ever see people not run, but in a hurry, try to get something that people are selling on the side of the road. And as I looked up, that's when I saw that the newspaper, I don't know how it got printed so quickly. I don't know if it was like an instant edition type stuff. Who knows? But I still remember to this day seeing that, and it was stating something along the lines of World Trade Center hit, something like that. And when that occurred, we gotta remember this was Central Time, 9 a.m. when I got out that morning. And so it was probably about 9:30ish a.m. that I got to that particular stop area. So we're going on Central Time, and what occurred in New York is 2 hours. Is that right? Is it 2 hours ahead of us? So what occurred there, I was well within that locked area in my work, oblivious to everything that occurred. Maybe that explains why stuff was able to be printed so quickly in terms of whatever this was on the newsprint. But anyways, when I was there, I saw it, and that's when I saw the headlines, and I was like, what is this? Like, they showcased a shot of something exploding on one of the World Trade Centers. It was the second tower at that point, with all the cameras pointing towards it, that the second plane hit it, and that's when everyone had all the footage, all the photos, all the videos that they needed for those particular shots. So immediately that's when I turned on the radio at that point, and then that's when I heard everything that was happening. It was crazy because all of this was happening, what occurred with the hijacking of the planes, what occurred with the impact on the towers, all of that was happening while myself and my other coworkers were within that secure area. We were completely oblivious to everything that happened. Nothing would have been told to us because there's no phones within that area. Again, there was no radio, nothing, no TVs, nothing that we could turn on and see and hear as far as what was happening in the outside world. The closest thing was, again, something seeing, like in this case, all those people running or getting something like quick copies of that paper that showcased that image. That's the stuff that immediately drew me to that attention. I was amazed at it because all of this was happening while I was still at work, and then and then that's when I was introduced to the World Trade Center tragedies. So hearing the radio, hearing what was going on, while I was driving home, I remember that I was able to catch up on everything that was going on. I can't remember if at the time, if the towers had already gone down. I think that they had by that point. This timeline is a little sketchy now. Again, this is 18 years ago, but I think they had already gone down by that point. And so when I got home, the first live images that I was able to see with regards to this tragedy showcased, I think it was already both towers were gone by that time period. If not, at least one of them would have been down, because I remember only seeing one, and then that was a huge turning point, because it was something where you're used to seeing obviously the two towers, the two magnificent, beautiful looking towers, all standing out prominently within the New York skyline, and then all of a sudden one of them is gone, and then that was it. And then of course the other one went down after shortly afterward. But that was my first intro right then and there to the World Trade Center tragedy. There I was at work September 10th, going in at 9 p.m. and then leaving at 9 a.m. Central Time, and then having my first experience being seeing a newspaper, someone selling those prints there, showcasing the shocking image of an explosion when one of the planes hit the tower, and then turning on the radio and then hearing all of that. I'm trying to remember too, I think our work was called off that following day because obviously so many things change within those 24 hours. To me, besides, of course, the towers going down, the next biggest thing that I remember from that time period was the announcement that all planes, all of them, would be completely shut down for a couple of days. No traffic, no airplane traffic, nothing. No commercial planes, nothing. The skies will be completely silent. It's eerie to think about it now because whenever you just are within any city, like here in Austin, the area that I live at, the area that I work at now, you can consistently hear a number of planes, commercial planes, traveling by. It's just background noise, but it's comforting background noise. You know that the day is going just routinely as is. But the minute it's gone, it's something where it's just, you suddenly realize how eerie that feeling is. It's almost like if you're in a forest area and you hear the usual chatter in the background, like insects buzzing, that kind of stuff, birds chirping. If all of a sudden that would disappear and it's just dead quiet, it stands out. And so that's what I remember too the next day. No airline traffic, no planes flying by, none of that familiar noise, nothing. So that was huge. Imagine if that were to happen today again. If you have the idea that there's no planes passing at all, because obviously the security measure was no planes could be used as further weapons, then here you have where nothing was flying the skies. I remember how monumental that was, that particular decision. And so I was trying to remember, I think we did not go to work, at least for that other day, as stuff was being caught up on, like in terms of the whereabouts of things, the security of the nation at the time. I'm trying to remember when I went to work. I think it was the day after that way I went back. And then that's when obviously like the big buzz, everyone was talking about what happened. Everyone was, at least in my area, safe at the time since we were all here in Central Texas. So not anybody that I can remember had any relatives over there in the New York area that were impacted. But still, that became the topic going forward during when we came back to work. So, but yes, at least I wanted to share everyone on this special edition video my own personal experience, what occurred that day, how I became aware of it. I think the next day, since we had off, when I woke up, because remember I was working the night shift, and so whenever I left and I got home, I caught up with as much news as I could, but then I was able to have to go to sleep. Otherwise, I'll be up, 24 hours plus. So I was able to catch some quick sleep. And then when I woke up, it was just me just catching up as much as I could on the radio and then also on TV. Everything that was occurring as it was happening live too, because all this stuff was still new as it was coming in. So it was me just absorbing all of this the day after. There was a phenomenon, a term for it. I can't remember what it was, but a lot of people were in that same situation for a while. And so that was also where I was trying to gather as much info. But that was at least my experience during that time period. So please, if you have a chance, post on the comments below what was your own personal experience there on 9/11, on September 11, 2001. What happened during that day for you? Where were you exactly? Were you at work? Were you at school? Were you resting at home? Something, whatever. And again, just please be respectful of everyone's comments, of everyone's thoughts. Nothing in terms of theories or contradictions. People posting conspiracy, nothing like that. Just please, I just want to know what your exact thoughts were during that time period, like what was happening. And for those of you, especially that happened to be near that area, it was Central Texas. We didn't feel much of it, but still, those of you that were on the eastern side, if you can post your comments too, then that would be really great to share with everyone. So, all right, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this special edition video, and I'm looking forward to seeing and hearing what everyone posts. All right, everyone. By the way, if you're wondering what the picture is, that I posted on here. Sorry, I should explain this at the beginning. This is actually, ironically, near enough where I worked. It was near enough the Office Space filming location. So it's the best thing I could find when it comes to showing a picture involving my location there where I was at the time. So if you're wondering again where this was, that's probably the closest thing that I'm probably like maybe 2 blocks away from this area. That's where I came out, and that's where I was introduced to the 9/11 tragedy. So, all right, everyone. Thanks again as always. Take care. Bye.